Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, everybody, put on your goggles, toss on that cape, because you are now entering the epic engagement adventure. I am, of course, your host. I am RJ Redden. If you don't know me by now, DM me or something, because we can fix that real fast. But I didn't come here to introduce you to me. I came to introduce you to my friend. My friend is Dr. Barrett Matthews. That's the last time that I'm going to use doctor during this episode. And he is, you know what? Media mastery is such a difficult concept for a lot of people. You got a lot of people trying to sell you a lot of methods, a lot of people trying to tell you 16 ways to Sunday how to, do this thing. Wouldn't it be nice if you had somebody you could trust? Wouldn't it be nice to have a regular human being like us come and talk to you about what that is and what that entails in the year of 2023? I have brought you along a special gift just for that purpose. It's Barrett Matthews. Barrett, thank you for coming on the show today.
RJ, the pleasure is mine. I'm just excited to be here. This is fun. I love your show. I love your audience. This is going to be a good time.
Yeah, baby. You know it. So, gotta start off by giving us the business.
Mhm.
What's the background? What do you do? Where you from? Hat size? Tell us everything.
As well. Well, here's the thing. Unlike some of the other people, as you mentioned, who may be trying to get you to do different things in media, I actually have media experience. I do. I was a media major in college. I interned at several TV stations. I was a sports director of a radio station. So I've worked in media. I've worked for newspapers. Then, when I got out of college, I was assistant director for the number one news station in Washington, D.C. Then I moved up to New York, where I worked at the network at CBS Sports. I did research and I was a production assistant at CBS Sports. So I've had work actually in the media. So what ended up happening, pretty much the background of it is I ended up getting out of the media after some time and as I did business, all types of different businesses, and sometimes the media just kept calling me back. Someone wanted me to do something that was related to media in some way, shape, or form. And after a while, I said, you know what? I'm going to start doing more things. So I started doing more. I remember Blog Talk Radio. I was doing Blog Talk Radio shows. I was doing my own. I was hosting and producing other people's shows for them. And I said, okay, it's time for me to start teaching people some things about media for their businesses, because as business has gone on, media has evolved. And at the point we're at right now, media is literally at your fingertips. You can use a cell phone and do your own media. But unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of business owners, some of you are out there right now, don't know what to do, or overwhelmed by it, or don't know how it can help you. So what I do now is I help people to, as I say, drive their competitors crazy by using media to make it so that your clients will not only find you but pay you.
Yeah. Well, that's the deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the deal. Well, so the media just sort of always has called you.
Mhm.
And now what kind of people do you teach? Tell me about them.
Well, that's a great question. I usually work with high end coaches and businesses who have had success in their careers, but are looking to reach more people because they know that there's more out there for them. They've tried different marketing strategies. They've tried teaming up with different marketing representatives or people who have businesses say, I can get you out there, I can get you out there. But they're seeing the same thing over and over again. And I look for people who want to do something different, who may say, you know what, I've tried social media. I like social media, but it's still not getting me the growth I want. Or I've tried podcasting and it's not getting me the growth that I want. So, what I teach people is to don't focus on just one platform, because there are various forms of media. And to say that you're going to focus on one platform is like saying that every client I serve is on that platform.
Right.
And We have people that use different platforms. Everyone gets their media from one source or another. We know that they get their information through one form of media. But if you only focus on one, that means you're missing all of those people who are on other forms of media. So, what I want to do is get people who want something different to understand that you want to have a presence on various platforms. I always use the example of the comedian Kevin Hart. I say, I don't care if you think Kevin Hart is funny or not, you cannot ignore him because he's everywhere. And he does it by design. That's not by happenstance. He wants to make sure he has podcasts, he has books, he has audio books, he has streaming movies, he has documentaries, he has TV shows, he has everything going on. And he does that for a reason because he wants to make sure that he stays relevant. Because just like Hollywood, your podcast, your social media presence can disappear like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I believe in having definitely different sources and being
Yeah.
available. Like for this podcast, I went and signed up on every single freaking platform I could find.
Yeah.
I mean, and because I absolutely want to find my people. But do you find though that there's a line, somewhere on the spectrum between, being everywhere versus being in the right places, and how do you decide? How do you decide?
Another great question. Well, one of the things that I say is that I would rather be everywhere and have. See, here's the thing. I think one of the misconceptions or the paradigms that I teach people to change is that they always tell us, find out who your client avatar is, find out who your client avatar is, and then go where they are. I say no. Find out who your client avatar is and make it so they can find you because they are looking for what you have to offer. You're out there searching for people and you don't even know who they are, but they know what they're looking for. So make it so they can find you. So let me give you an example. So let's say if someone likes to get their information from watching streaming TV, like Roku or something. Well, if you don't have a presence there, they can't find you. Let's say if another person wants to get theirs from podcasts. If you don't have a presence there, they can't find you. Another may like to get it from books. If you don't have a presence there, they can't find you. So I'm saying you don't have to dominate those areas, but just have a presence. So if they're looking for whatever you offer, guess what? They found you. You see, McDonald's doesn't come knocking on your door saying, RJ, hey, we have a Big Mac down the street for sale. McDonald's knows that when you want a Big Mac, you can always find one, and they want to make sure that they are findable. Well, the same should be said about your business. Make sure that you can be found on various platforms. No matter where you are in the country, you can find a McDonald's. Where no matter where people are looking on media, they should be able to find you, find something that you're doing, so they can know, okay, that's my family right there. I need to find them.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating because that's a lot different. You know
It
what I
is.
mean? That is an unconventional message, which I welcome. I love unconventional messages. I tell you, these days when I hear people say the same old thing, I go, "Whoa, that's still working." I mean, you know, so I am grateful. I am grateful for this message today. So it's not really it's about being findable.
Hmm.
How many places are you in, and do you so let's talk about this a minute.
Okay.
When you're being findable, does that mean the Kevin Hart method? Does that mean have a book out there, have a podcast out there? What does
I,
that mean for you?
I think so, but see, the thing is, a lot of people feel that they have to create new content all over and over and over and over again. No, you can repurpose your content. The same content you have for your podcast can be done in a book. The same content that you're doing when you're creating that podcast, you can set up another camera and do the making of and make a whole documentary of how you make your podcast. So there are so many different things you can do with the same content. It's just
Yes.
that you have to first know what you're doing or have someone who can help you, who knows what they're doing. Because I'm a firm believer in order to get it done, you don't have to be the one. So I just make sure that I have people, or I can do things that can make it so that people can find me. Now, I'm a firm believer that you can still have a presence, like you said, the Kevin Hart method, to have it everywhere, because Kevin doesn't do it all himself, but he makes sure that his presence is everywhere. Now, and once again, Kevin doesn't dominate any of those areas either. He may dominate in film industry, but all the other areas, he just has a presence.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying. Have a presence. So when people are looking for something that you offer, you're there.
Yes. Okay. I like that a lot. Well, and in fact, one of the things you said really hit home with me, and it's that, people are thinking they have to create the content that's different, every
Mm-hmm.
time. I would say stop doing that.
Oh,
Don't do
amen.
it. Have have 10 or so messages, values that
Yep.
ring a bell with your audience, and
Yep.
say those consistently. Save the rest of the brand new stuff for the people you're already working with.
Yes. Yes, I
Yes.
like that. That's a great point. Because I mean, the thing is, people you want to get those people interested enough to want to work with you.
Yeah.
And see, I'm a believer. I know some people may not be of this ilk, but I'm a believer that if I'm going to do a podcast, I'm doing it for business. I can have fun with it, but I'm doing it for business, because otherwise it just becomes a hobby.
Yeah.
And the thing about a hobby is that you can lose interest in it. If it's for business, nah, it's about money now. So I'm not losing interest in that. And I've actually, because as you know, I help people produce media, and I've had clients, well, potential clients. I told them I don't think that I'm for them, because they were just doing it as a hobby. And I said, if you're just doing it as a hobby, my team's ready to work for you, and you just may decide I don't want to do it anymore, and now we just lost a client. I'd rather have someone who's doing it for business, where we can have an agenda and a mindset of growth and what we can do with it. That way we can do it together. So I had a lady last week. I told her, you need to know what your why is, why you're doing a podcast. Don't just do it because you think it's something fun to do.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. You must know why. I mean, the conventional ways to market out there are so stuck on get in the many, get in the many, get in the many, get them on a list, get them on a list, get them on a list.
Hmm.
They don't care about what happens after a
Yeah,
name gets on
yeah,
a list. Like,
yeah.
what is that? To me, I want to attract tribe members.
There you go.
I want my people to, whenever they hear my voice or read something I wrote, sit up like somebody is blowing on a dog whistle and go, how is she in my head right now? And how can I get a hold of her
Yeah,
immediately? That's what I want. I don't want anything less than that, my friend.
I love that. And see, that's what you should shoot for. Because and if anyone is paying close attention, she's not saying she needs stark raving fans to say, "Oh, I'll just worship you." She wants people to follow what she's doing, so they know that I'm part of a tribe. Because if they're part of a tribe, that doesn't mean that they are on the outside looking in. They're all a part. They're all together. So they feel that when she puts out content, that's our content.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference in the world when someone feels they belong. Because one of the suggestions I always have to people, like I've had people ask me all the time, so I'm trying to pick out a name for my podcast. What should I name it? I said, ask your group, ask them for help in naming it, ask them for topic ideas, because
Yes.
now they feel like they are a part of it.
Yep.
Now they feel that they're engaged. And see, when you if you that doesn't mean you have to pick one that they say, but if you do, oh my goodness, that's going to go crazy. Even if you don't see, here's the thing. Let's say I had a tribe and RJ's part of that tribe, and she suggested a name, but I didn't go with her name. I went with someone else's name, and I went with Bobby's name. But the fact that I said Bobby's name, RJ still feels good because I picked someone who's part of the same tribe. So
Yes.
it's just a matter of me just engaging with them and
Yeah.
letting them know that this is about us, not about me. And please, guys, never make it about you. It's never about me. Make it about your tribe and let them know that this is going to be something that they an experience for them. Engage with them in Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, whatever you got to do. Just engage with them to let them know that this is an us thing, not a me thing.
Yeah, this is an us thing. Like, a community is so much more than a wall with different posts on it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Let's redefine that for ourselves. I mean,
Yes.
create a community around your podcast. I
And
mean,
you
you
can
know,
create a community around anything. I mean, like you said, your podcast. I have a friend. I don't know if you're familiar. His name is Warren Carlisle. Warren has created the largest Instagram community. You know what his topic is? Octopus. If you look up Octo Nation on Instagram, it
I
is
think I've
huge.
seen that guy.
Yes,
Yes.
I know Warren. It is huge. I mean, it's so huge that Facebook asked him to come in and speak to them before because he knows how to build a community. So you can build a community on anything. But if you notice, Octo Nation, if you go to the page, you barely will see any pictures of him.
You'll see a
Because
lot of octopuses, though.
you'll see a lot of octopus because that's what it's about. So,
Yeah.
and the community, they all feel, oh, I want to add a picture to this. I want to send this picture in because they like the same thing. That's what the community is for. So, understand that. He uses Instagram. You use podcasts. You can use. There are so many various forms of media that you can use. But building that community, oh man, it can take you to another level because for instance, if RJ decides, you know what, I want to build my social media community because she has a podcast community, they will follow her. They will, if she said, I'm going to put out a documentary, they're going to follow her. If she says, I'm going to write a book, they're going to follow her. So that's what a community is about. They want to be a part of something. Everybody wants to be a part of something. So it's just one of those things that you want to make sure that you have people that want to be a part of it and want to contribute as well.
Yeah, and it is that feeling of belonging, that
Yes,
feeling of working towards something greater than just
yes,
yourself.
yes.
That's not for everybody. There are people out there who are like, no, no, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. You know, and I get it, but I ain't that way.
Well,
Uh,
you know what's funny though on that, and I agree with you. There are people like that. Nobody makes money by themselves.
isn't that
You
hilarious?
know, I mean, nobody makes money by them. I hear people talk about self-made millionaire. There's no such thing as a
Mhm,
self-made millionaire. Everybody
mhm.
has had someone to help them or pour into them at some point. That's the only way we're going to make it. I always tell people, God put us here to be interdependent, not independent. So we have to be here for each other.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Gosh, well, I'm fascinated by what you're teaching,
Thank you.
because it is very different than the normal stuff out there. What made you want to work with coaches?
Well, it's funny you said that. I was actually just trying to find who my audience was and who I wanted to serve. And I used to coach myself. I used to coach people in productivity. And then I started dealing more with media. As I told you, media kept calling me. So I started working in media. And then I realized that, people I was around were coaches. So I started serving some of them. But even when I started my podcast, I started interviewing people who, like, I would interview someone like you. I interviewed people who were dealing in media, who had some type of media going because my whole thing is media boss. So I had someone tell me something. Have you ever had any of those moments where someone told you something and it was like, duh, that was right in front of me the whole time? Well, they said, so who are your clients? Who are your ideal clients? And I said, usually coaches, usually like high end 6, 7 figure coaches. And they said, "Then why aren't you interviewing them?" I'm like, I was like, duh, because that should be because I said, if I'm interviewing those people, I have a better chance of turning them into clients. If
Yeah.
now they see how simple the podcast is, how easy it is to do, I got to showcase them and they get to see how I can produce the podcast all at the same time. Well, why wouldn't you want to do one yourself now? And it was just one of those moments. So I said, okay, I'm staying with coaches, but now I'm even going to interview them as well as just as having them as my clients. So the coaches are also a group of people who they have a message
Yeah.
and they want to get a message out further than just their own local. I had a meeting yesterday with a friend of mine who wants to get into speaking and coaching, but he doesn't have his audience built up yet. And I was telling him, I said, one way to do that is you need to put yourself on different forms of media. I
Yeah.
said, because you're not going to do it by just walking around knocking on doors and talking to people or getting
No.
on the phone. You're not going to do it. This is not 100 years ago. You can't do it that
Yeah.
way now. And you got to make sure that you put yourself out there. And there are a lot of ways, but you got to know your why and you got to know your who. Who are you targeting? And you have to know what it is that you're going to offer them that they don't feel they can get somewhere else, something that unique value proposition. What is it that you have? So we went over that, but those are the things I look for with coaches. Do you know who you serve?
Yeah.
And if they know who they serve, then hey, let's go for it. Let's make sure we can get something out there.
It is trying to find a needle in a haystack in a land where there's no metal. Like, when you are trying to find everyone, you will find no one.
Amen.
And and even more for me in the last couple of years, it's been getting super picky about who I spend my day with. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. I
Yes.
only want the cream of the crop. I only
Yes.
want the applicants.
I
You
know I
know?
started making some people mad now because I've been turning down people left and right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you have to if you want to remain sane, because
That's the word.
Uh, I'll tell you, I have tried in some conditions, in some situations to work with people who weren't quite white, and, it always ended up quite wrong.
Yeah,
Quite
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. I mean, I found that one criteria I raised my prices to work with people, and because that weeds out certain. Because I realized the people who, like for instance, I talked to a guy the other day. He had no problem with my pricing. He signed up right away. I dealt with someone else who in the past who I gave a lower price to on a special. She actually asked me, "Did I have a discount after the special?" And then and then wanted to just call me and ask me question after question after question throughout the whole process. And I said, "See, the people that have a certain level of sophistication as far as income wise, they don't give you the problems." So that's one thing I had to just cut out people without saying no to them. I'm make them say no to me.
Yeah, yeah. It's so important to know who you wanna work with. You remember that book, What Color's Your Parachute?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, just like when you try to go on vacation and you should take twice the money and half the clothes, when you're looking for a job, you should know thyself. I mean, like it's backwards. We've got the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
you do.
it's like I'm gonna figure out my marketing method, and then I'm gonna figure out who I'm looking for. No, sweetie, you're not gonna do it. No. But I mean, can we talk about the thing that you have coming up?
Oh, sure, sure, sure. On December 8th and 9th, and this is for people who want to learn how to do their own podcast. Like I said, podcasting is probably the simplest form for you to get your message out there, and it's easy to repurpose because podcasting, just like we're doing right here, it's easy for you to talk about something you love. If I
Yeah.
ask you to write a book about it, it could take a long time. But you can talk about what you love all day long. So that's why I start with podcasting. So I'm going to have on December 8th and December 9th, it's not all day, it's just certain hours of each day, the Create Your Podcast Weekend. So I'm going to spend 2 days going over from soup to nuts how to create your own podcast, how to put it all together, how to find hosting, what equipment to use, about finding guests, and about how to monetize it. We're going to go how you can start making money with your podcast over a 2-day period. This event is $997. That covers both days of the event. But I told RJ before we got started, I have something just for her audience, just for anyone listening right now. If you go to, it's real simple. Remember, it's called Create Your Podcast Weekend. Remember this website. It's called createyourpodcastweekend.com. How simple is that? Createyourpodcastweekend.com. So if you go there, you will see the price is $997. But if you enter the code podcast, I'm taking off 90% for you guys. So you only pay $97 for both days. $97 for that. And I'm adding more. That's right. I'm adding more. Wait, there's more. You get to bring a guest for free. So once you register at $97, you will get communicated from us asking you the name and email of your guests so we can bring them in as well. So to Create Your Podcast Weekend, December 8th and December 9th, it's $997 regularly, but if you use the code, which is podcast, you only pay $97 and you get to bring a guest for free. Go to createyourpodcastweekend.com and you can come to this event. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. We're going to have some fun. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to make some friends and so forth and so on.
Yeah. I mean, that's a heck of a deal. I just want to thank you on behalf of my people, my tribe.
No
There
problem.
are so many of them that want a podcast, but they want somebody they can trust to be able to guide them and not, fill them full of a bunch of, malarkey, whatever. There's a lot of stuff out there. We know, we all know that, but but really, folks, if you want to learn from Barrett here, if you want to create that, it's not just a podcast. The podcast is the vehicle.
Right.
But he is talking about so much more than just the car. He's talking about everything that you need to know. So take advantage of this, or at least check it out, hit upon that, and give me a call. Give Barrett a call. Let us know, because there's the thing. I've done a lot of things over the years. We all have, but the one thing that I've always done is a podcast, and it's always had a return on investment in me. And for me, I had to figure it out all by myself.
Yeah.
So don't do what I did. Don't do what I did.
I mean, a lot of us, we buy into the traditional ways of monetizing the podcast, and they usually don't work.
They're stupid. I mean, it might have been really fabulous 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but times change and methods change with them. And if you are ever standing in front of somebody who says, this is what I did 10 years ago to become famous,
it ain't
you
working.
give a polite nod and you walk away.
Yeah. I heard someone say Joe Rogan ruined it for everybody. So
that's quite possible. I love my podcast and I love my listeners, because you will find no more loyal audience than a podcast group. You will find that your podcast audience is also a tad more educated than the rest of the folks, which I mean, that's my crowd. That's just my crowd.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, so do you have any final words of wisdom for the people today, Barrett?
Well, if anyone is thinking about getting going in media, stop thinking and do it. I remember Bruce Lee had a quote that said, "A man who thinks too much on anything will never get it done." Yeah. So it's time for you to stop thinking and do it. Look, you're getting ready to go into a new year. Don't be the same person you were in the last year. So do something different. If you're thinking about doing it, whether you come to my event or not, just get started. Just do something to get started, because I don't want to see people sitting in the same place again.
No. Make some moves, my friends. make some moves. Go check out createyourpodcastweekend.com. If you're interested, you type in that podcast word and you'll get a whole freaking bunch off.
Mhm.
And I want to thank you for just coming in and
Thanks for
sharing
having
some
me,
different
man.
information.
Shit, I love this. Thank you. I appreciate this.
We'll have you again. It'll be
I'm back
great.
again.
All right, my friend. Well, we're going to wrap it up for this week. Listen, y'all, next week, I ain't going to be here. I am on a boat. I will have potentially a drink in my hand, maybe one for both hands. We don't know. I'm on a cruise. I am not thinking about work. I'm going to let the sun kiss my face because I live in Omaha, Nebraska, and it hasn't done that for a very long time. But in 2 weeks, I shall be back. Same bot time, same bot channel. Another amazing guest, but how could we beat Dr. Barrett? I don't know, but we will have a wonderful guest. Join us again on the Epic Engagement Adventure. Thank you for your most precious thing, which is your time. Look out for yourself. Look out for each other. I'll see you in a bot.